Hello, hello, hello.
Hey everybody, how are y'all doing today?
Good.
Yeah.
Good. Welcome to Life in Sync. I'm Mary. We have Rhonda and Erica and a special
Hey.
guest today. But first, ladies, how was your day today? How did it go?
Productive.
Yes, productive. Kind of long.
It was it was a long day today. I might add a long, long day. Well, today we have an exciting topic that we're going to talk about here on Life in Sync. We're going to be talking about domestic violence. It's a good topic to talk about. It affects people of all communities, genders, races, social statuses, religions. It is a worldwide issue. And so we brought on an expert today to come in and just shed some light on that, especially for those who live in this community where we live here in Meridian, Mississippi and surrounding areas. But I'll let Miss Erica go ahead and do an introduction and we'll get started.
Absolutely. We are so grateful to have Sarah here tonight. She is the community coordinator at Care Lodge Domestic Violence Shelter here in Meridian, Mississippi. And she has a wealth of information about domestic violence awareness. As some of you may or may not know, October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and she's going to be discussing some topics concerning this and show you ways that you can get help and ways that Care Lodge helps the community. So, Sarah, if you can just start off just telling us a little bit about yourself and what is Care Lodge?
So, like Erica was saying, my name is Sarah Smith. I've been with Care Lodge now for 8 years. This just first, so I've been there for a few minutes. And I started off at Care Lodge working in the court system as an advocate, and I signed up offenders of domestic violence into a violence intervention program. It's basically a class where people who have been mostly assigned to either jail, or they come to this class where they learn about why am I acting the way I'm acting toward my loved one? Is this a healthy relationship for me, for my partner? How can we either improve this relationship, or do I need to make a decision to break it off and try to work on myself more? And there's a lot of other things that are involved with that, but I did that for about 3.5 years, and then I took on the role as community coordinator, and that morphed into director of community engagement. So now I'm involved with all sorts of outreach in terms of education, social media platforms, YouTube, podcasting. So I'm right there with you all in this live and sync thing. Like, this is a whole new ball game, and it's the way to reach people.
Yeah.
So I applaud you guys for doing this. And Care Lodge, it's been around since 1981. It started off very small as basically a crisis line, and then it morphed because of community support. Lots of different families in our community and churches got involved and poured money and love, blood, sweat, and tears into the program to grow it into what it is today. And we have state and federal funding that allows us to not only have emergency shelter, but to help over specifically 9 counties of East Central Mississippi, but people from all over the place learn how to build safety plans, become safer, have transitional housing, get on their feet, figure out what they're going to do in their next steps in life, because what they're going through is so tumultuous and overwhelming that they need outside help, unbiased, caring support that meets them right where they're at and helps them meet their goals on their terms. Sometimes people just need a little bit of information on how to get from A to B safely, and that's what we do at Care Lodge. So that's it in a nutshell. That's what we do.
Wonderful, wonderful. Great asset to the community. So, your typical situation, if someone, well, first of all, what would you define as domestic violence? Or what type of, not saying what type of people, but who would use the services at Care Lodge?
So a general definition of domestic violence would be the way somebody speaks or acts toward a partner. And it could be, in a general term, with advocacy. We've got the legal definition in the state of Mississippi, but then you've got the advocacy definition. So I'm going to really focus on that one because I think that's more at the heart of the issue. And it's somebody who says that they love you. It could be a mother, a child, a grandparent, grandchild, dating partner, maybe it's the parent of your child, and they say they love you, but the way that they speak to you or treat you is so toxic and harmful that it makes you feel like you've lost a sense of who you are on the inside, and it makes you feel unsafe in all sorts of ways. So maybe they've never laid a hand on you, but the way that they speak to you and control you and manipulate every move you make, that is what domestic violence is.
Wow.
I was doing some research just about the behaviors. And, you know, a lot of these things we may not necessarily think are uh, situations where domestic violence is being, you know, perpetrated. But, you know, intimidation, yelling in the face, um, you know, being if in a relationship, you know, cheating or being overly jealous. I've even witnessed personally when I used to teach where a young lady was in a relationship with a man who would try to sabotage her education by on test days he would hold her hostage and lock her in the closet so she could not get to class.
Mm-hmm.
um you know, those type of things. And sometimes, especially when you mention the word love, there sometimes there's a big misunderstanding about what love is, and self-love, which plays a big part in it. And then, like you said, you mentioned losing yourself in a relationship, you know, whether it's parent child, or, you know, in a marriage, or whatever it is. If it's tearing you down as an individual, you know, you may just be a victim of domestic violence. So I found those things to be very interesting when I was researching.
Well, I'm glad
And
you
it's a
said that because not now people who are watching this, be careful, because the more you dig into this, the more you realize, wow, I've actually done those things myself.
Mm-hmm.
When you start looking at the power and control wheel and things like that, and you're like, wow, using my kids to gain leverage in the relationship, you
mm,
know, you ain't gonna see the kids if you don't give me your check, or you ain't gonna do, you can't take away a parent's rights unless they're putting the child in danger. So you have to be really careful how you use intimidation and fear tactics in a relationship, especially with children. Or that whole sabotage thing is huge. Another one warning sign here is intensity. A lot of times when people get in a relationship, it's too much, too soon, too intense. They're already
Mhm.
talking about marriage. They're already talking about plans and moving in together. And whoa, 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 whoa. One step at a time, you know. And isolation is another one as well, you know, making it seem like painting the picture to be sounding lovely, but in long run, and usually, you know, you can't see this thing when it's happening to you quickly, but other
Mhm.
people around you can see it quicker. So they might be like, hey, you don't hang out anymore, or, you know, what happened? You don't hang out with us guys, or you don't hang out with us girls anymore. I know you're all the time with your partner. What's up? Are you okay? Yeah, we just like to spend time with each other, and, you know, we're just so in love. Okay, but you have to have that healthy balance, because it's really easy when you're isolated away from your supportive resources like friends and family, coworkers, that when something is going on, it's going to be harder for you to reach out for help, because there's almost a brokenness in the sense of those relationships, because it's distant.
yeah. I know isolation. I've seen this in different scenarios with people who are victims of domestic violence, where isolation is definitely one of the major ways in which an abuser will start to gain control over an individual. And I also wanted to ask you about what are some of the reasons you think people who may realize they're in a toxic relationship or realize that they may be suffering from domestic violence? What are some of the reasons why you feel they stay in those situations?
I think one of the number one reasons why they stay is financial. They maybe are not working, or they don't have the income. Maybe they've been staying at home. Most frequently, it's a case where somebody's staying home with children, and that's the financial reason. But and it may be to where, like Leslie Morgan Steiner's story, that would be a good YouTube look up later. Leslie Morgan Steiner, she fell in love, had a great relationship. They moved off. She wanted to pursue a career. He was like, no, stay home. I'm taking care of you. It sounded great, but really it was sabotage. And I'll let her fill in the rest with her own story. But it's little things that cut away at your freedoms and independence along the way. So they stay because they don't believe they can make it. They stay because they have hope that the person they fell in love with will come back. Or if I love you enough, if I treat you with respect, if I stick in there, it'll change you. And that is a lie that we tell ourselves, because you cannot change anybody but who, y'all?
Yourself.
Me. That's it.
Yes.
And when you said at the very, very beginning that all different backgrounds and religions and ethnicities, cultures are affected by this, that's true. But one of the number one things that people use is spiritual scriptures against that person. And they'll break out that Ephesians 5 and read one little piece of it. And it's like, no, honey, you need to read that whole thing.
Yes.
That's right.
Bounce back to Corinthians too, because there's a whole bunch in there about spiritual gifts and love and what it is and what it isn't.
Right. Right.
You're gonna get me snapping in a second.
Oh man. So Sarah, okay, let's say someone makes a decision that they are in a toxic relationship and they need to escape. They need help. So they call Care Lodge, or they call the crisis hotline. Walk me through what that person would go through.
Well, you'd be speaking to somebody that's a normal person just like me. It's not some robot. You're not gonna get like some funky music or something playing in the background. It's a real live person that answers the phone. How can I help you? And it can be any time of the day or night, y'all, but really just lay it out there. Tell them what's going on. I'm confused in my relationship. I don't even know why I called. This is just not even that big of a deal. I'm just confused. They'll talk it out with you. Do you feel afraid sometimes? Do you feel like you've lost a part of who you are? Do you have somewhere to sleep you don't have to be afraid of going to sleep, or what's going to happen, or how you're going to wake up? Are your basic needs met? Tell me a little bit about what's been going on before you made this phone call. And that kind of conversation will happen. And that person just needs to know that there will not be any pressure to make a decision if you call, or even if you stop by our office. Our office is located at 1627 23rd Avenue in Meridian. You can come by there Monday through Friday like normal business hours and ask any question about our services or what it feels like to come into shelter. We'll even describe to you what the inside of the building looks like. It's just like y'all, I think so many people don't want to do shelter and things like that because of media and movies, like that movie, what was it? Pursuit of Happiness with Will Smith.
Yeah.
They stayed in that shelter and it was scary. It was dark. It was damp, drippy, flickering lights. That is not Care Lodge. Care Lodge is a beautiful place. There's pictures on the wall. There's welcoming sayings all over the walls, and all your basic needs are met right there. We could come in just like we are right now, and everything that we ever need will be right there. Clothing, food, and a place to rest our head that night. And that to me is such a freedom and a sense of relief for somebody who's like, I've got to pack my whole house to leave. You really don't. Pack some of the most important things you need for daily living, like if you have medications and things like that. We don't require IDs or background checks for anybody to come into shelter. All we do ask is that you come in and you have an open mind.
That's good.
Now there's a little bit more to that. You need to be an adult, and there's other screener things that we ask, but for the most part, we want you to be safe. And if shelter is not the option that you want to take, then we go a second question. Where do you feel like you could go if you couldn't go home tonight? or if you need to leave right now, is do you have a second place where you could go stay that you feel safe? So we just start asking these open-ended questions and probing and seeing where this person wants to go. And sometimes they just want to tell their story and get it out and see what it feels like to talk to somebody when they're in crisis. And little steps along the way are made. And it might take somebody, 5 to 7 times, like the statistics say, before they actually leave, because it takes a lot of courage building in order for somebody to make a. Could you imagine having to leave the person that you love dearly or someone you're married to and have kids with? You've been together for 5 or 20 years, and you're like, this is it. I've got to go now. You lay your head down at night. You have that empty void next to you where you used to have some warm body. And that'll eat away at a person. And those are the things I don't think people normally think about when they decide, I'm leaving. I can't do this anymore. They don't think about that other stuff. But you can make it. And there is hope and there is support out there.
Absolutely wonderful. Yeah.
What are
So,
some ways? I was going to ask, what are some ways in which you would recommend, as far as people in the community, to not have such a judgmental approach to individuals who are suffering from domestic violence, or those who are trying to leave, or because why won't you just leave, and you stupid for staying, and and I would just walk out, and those type of things. What are some of the what do you recommend as far as how to approach that situation without everybody won't tell you what they would do in your situation that are not in your situation, nor have they ever been in a situation that's similar to that. So sometimes it's difficult for people on the outside looking in to understand. But what would you recommend as far as not being judgmental, or having a more therapeutic or compassionate approach towards somebody who is contemplating leaving, or you feel needs to leave the situation?
I think that's a wonderful question. And I think even for us as professionals, when it happens to one of our family members or a dear friend of ours, we have to put on our advocacy hat, I say. Because if you put on the family member friend hat, you may not like the person
right,
who's about to come out. You know what I'm saying?
right, okay.
So you got to put
Yeah.
on almost a professional hat and say, okay, let me rewind a second. When a child grows up, if you ask any child right now, baby, what do you do when you catch fire? What happens if you get caught on fire? What do you do? You guys know, what do you do? 3 things: stop, drop, and roll.
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
But we don't talk about this kind of stuff. Baby, what do you do if you're in a bad relationship with that person, says they love you, but their actions and their words don't match?
Stop, drop,
Stop, drop, and roll.
cover your face,
But
and roll.
we have to practice this in our mind, whether we're a victim or we're a bystander, somebody who's trying to help that person out. So as a bystander, as somebody who cares about a situation, you want to do a few things. First, you want to say, thank you so much for sharing that with me. I can't imagine how difficult that was for you to just say that to me right now. And thank you for trusting me with that information. I don't know what I did to deserve that, but I appreciate you trusting me with this. The next thing you want to say is, how can I help you? How can I help you? Do you want me to just listen? You want me to sit here and listen with you? Do you want me to help you find solutions for safety? Can I be part of your safety plan? Do you want to give me a code word that if you text me this certain emoji or GIF, that means please call the police and let them know I need them to come over to my house? Or how can I best support you? Is basically what you're asking. And that person sometimes might just be testing the water with you to see how involved you may be. Or that person may just be like, they can't put it into words how they need you to help. They just know that they hurt on the inside. So as a bystander, we need to remember that sometimes what we know about another person is only what they choose to share with us. There could be a lot more going on that they're not ready to share. Like maybe they had a lot of bad things that have happened to them in their childhood that they never told a soul about. And a lot of that weight, the gravity of those traumatic experiences that happened to them as a child have compiled over time and leaked into this relationship. And I'm not saying it's their fault, but it almost created a new vulnerability for them to become prey for a predatory partner, if you're following me.
Yes.
And it is that kind of relationship, that predator prey, where the people who have just a little chink in their armor, it could be the smallest thing, like maybe your house burns down and you need help. And here comes a knight in shining armor or this princess with some money in their pocket. And they said, I got you, baby. I care about you. You don't worry about nothing. But then later on, it turns into this power imbalance where that person has authority over you now and has trying to take control over your situation. You don't know what you're doing. I know how to take care of this. Let me take the reins. And then you're left powerless. That's just one example. But we have to have empathy with these people that choose to disclose something so vulnerable with us. And you know what? They might go back. And chances are they're going to go back a few times. And we have to be willing to say, this is not about me. This is not my story. But I am willing to be a part of your next chapter. And I'm here for you no matter what. That is the hardest thing to do as somebody who cares on the outside. Because you have to be willing to be there to catch them when you know they're going down the wrong track and you're watching the whole thing happen. And maybe you even called the police and you were very involved and it hurts you on the inside. You got to be willing to say, Lord, I'm doing everything I can, but I don't want to hurt this relationship because I want this person to know that I'm here for them if they need me. The ride or die, you know what I'm saying? Like, I need to be there for them, but give me the courage and the empathy and the, whatchamacallit. What's that? The muzzle. Give me the muzzle, Lord. Because I don't say things that I don't need to say.
Oh, and that kind of led me to the next question. When does the legal system get involved, or when do you advise somebody to contact the legal system?
I would say trust your gut. And I know that's not probably what people want to hear right now. But for me to not be the person who is directly living that experience, I can't say when is the time, but I can tell you that when there are certain things that are considered lethal and it raises your lethality of your situation and your relationship, I would consider involving the police. But here's the thing. What if your partner is a police officer? What if your partner is related to police officers or a judge?
Yes. What if?
So sometimes you may not want to call. Maybe you need to call in some other reinforcements, so to speak. So I would say if there's a situation where there's weapons accessible, maybe drug and alcohol abuse is occurring, maybe the violence has escalated with intensity and frequency over time. So it's happening more often and it's getting worse over time. That pattern is getting bigger and bigger and bigger and more frequent. That increases your lethality a lot. And I will say with 100% security in this response that if somebody puts their hands around your neck or sits on your chest or blocks your airway where you cannot breathe, that is a felony in the state of Mississippi, and it's called strangulation, not choking. And you really need to consider getting medical help because there could be stuff going on the inside of you that you don't know about because the bruises and scratches on the outside are so rare with strangulation. I would really consider involving at least medical help. I don't know if that answers your question, but
yes, it does. It does.
Hey, Sarah, back to the police. You know, I have been in a situation, you know, sometimes the police make it harder for someone to get help. And the reason I say that, because if you call, it's like, well, we don't see any bruises or we don't see any marks. We can't do anything. You know, clearly you see it was a sign of struggle here. But they will say that because that has happened. I have experienced that. And then they'll tell you, well, in order for us to do it, you have to go to press charges and let the courts decide. It makes it hard for people to really get help, in that situation.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Oh, girl, you just opened up a can of worms with me. Okay. In the state of Mississippi, that is not true. If a police officer believes without reasonable doubt that domestic violence occurred within a certain time frame, they shall make an arrest and they shall determine who the principal aggressor is.
So they just did not want to do it.
Right.
I'm not going to say I know for sure.
Been there, done that.
But I will say,
okay.
I will say this too. Let me help out my law enforcement officer friends that do the best job they can. There are some times with domestic violence that it gets so muddled and difficult to try to figure out what's going on, because maybe both of them were fighting and there's scratches on both and there's bruises on both and the whole house is tore up and it's just a confusing situation. Everybody's screaming and everybody's yelling. Domestic violence cases are the most lethal for law enforcement officers to respond to. So they're coming in already aware and alert. And so everybody's, escalated a little bit, and they have a hard job trying to come into a situation that's escalated and people are crying and screaming and maybe bleeding, and they're having to determine all these things at one time. Now, that's not always the case, sure. But they do have a duty to try to figure out what's going on. But I do wish that there were more opportunities for the pressure. The law was created for the pressure to be taken off of the victim and put on the state.
Yes.
Because domestic violence is one of the hardest things to have to deal with as an affiant. So the victim in that case, if they're saying you need to press charges, they are the affiant, and they're trying to press charges against somebody that they lay their head down next to every night.
Right.
That's not an armed robber trying to break in and steal your safe. This is somebody that you have built a life around. And that's where the empathy comes in with our community, is we have to remember that.
Yeah.
So Sarah, if someone, if there's a female who wants to get services from Care Lodge and they are spending the night there, or is there certainly the time that they can stay there, or what's the course or the time length they can stay at the Care Lodge?
Well, to answer the first part of your question, we help more than just women. We do help men as well. So if it's a male victim, we do have ways to help them out just as much as we would a woman. But if somebody needs help and they come into shelter, generally speaking, the average stay is going to be about 18 to 20 days. That's just the average. We have many people that stay overnight, and that's it. Maybe they just need somewhere to stay for the weekend until they can make plans. But we have what's called a transition program, where if they're in shelter, they will make steps to make goals to figure out what they want to do next. Maybe it's moving in with a roommate. Maybe it's moving in and starting their life over again and having their own home. Maybe it's buying a house. So we really just do some goal setting with them, long-term goals and short-term goals, and they're meeting them along the way. So the whole point is we don't want people to stay in shelter. We want them to live and thrive after this. So we're constantly working on ways to build on what they want. And sometimes they don't know what they want, so we let them know what options are available to them with their financial situation, with the assets that they have already in their life, and maybe we help them build their assets. What I mean by that is build their connections, strengthen their support system. So when they do decide to take that next step, they're strong, they're ready to take on the world, and they know that we're there for them along the way.
So
Do
what
you
type
offer
of
any therapy or
What was that?
counseling
Yes, we do offer
services?
free. Every service that we offer for victims is free of charge. We have childcare, we have counseling by a therapist, we have peer support that can be done virtually or in person. So there's a lot of curveballs with coronavirus right now where people are not sure about getting out and about. Just like we're doing right now, we can do that for somebody who needs help with a protection order. We can do that for counseling, for support, information, how to walk somebody through a safety plan. Virtually anything could be virtual.
Now, Sarah, are they allowed to still work while they're
Yeah.
in shelter?
Yes. Sometimes there's special circumstances, like if I'm just going to make up a scenario. Say somebody works night shift and they have children, right? Generally speaking, childcare services aren't available 24/7, so we have to help that person build a network of support to make sure that they don't lose their job. And maybe it's a conversation about, well, is your boss willing and open to negotiate some terms for you? There aren't any laws in the state of Mississippi specifically around employment and domestic violence, but there are a lot of good, safe policies and practices that try to help people, like workplace violence policies that are supposed to help accommodate the employees with time off for court or getting protection orders or having to get safety. But you really need to explore that. It's kind of like, when you're in school, you get that handbook that we don't read and we just sign the paper and we just, there's a lot of awesome things out there that are available to employees through their employers that we don't take advantage of, like employee assistance programs for free counseling services, because we just really didn't take the time to read the handbook. But I really encourage people who need that support to go to their employer and just let them know. Don't have to tell the whole story. Just let them know that you're in a situation where you need to know if there's can be some negotiations. But we don't want people to have to rearrange their whole life in order to get help. So we really try to work with people to overcome any barrier they have. Hey, you got pets? You don't want to leave them at home? Bring them to Care Lodge. We have veterinary services for free that will take care of your pet and board your pet. They get tender love and care while they're in there. Vet services, all sorts of things. We don't want people to stay at home for any reason.
Oh, wow. What about like medical? Is there some type of medical services or routing them to someone?
So we don't have medical staff. What we would do is provide a referral for those services. Anything that we can't do at Care Lodge, we have community partners who work with us to provide those specialized services.
Perfect. Perfect. So one of the other things, I was looking at the website, there's so much information and it even has statistics on there. And it was talking about the number of families that was served in our area. And like you said earlier, it's like about 9 counties that Care Lodge serves. And so on average a year, how many families or people does Care Lodge serve?
Well, our numbers have been kind of skewed because of coronavirus, so that average is kind of not real right now. But since I've been at Care Lodge and have been aware of the statistics, I could probably say with a solid answer between 800 to 1,000 individuals a year.
It's a lot of people.
Easily, and that includes children as well.
Great.
But
Really
one
grateful.
thing we didn't touch on with services is transportation. A lot of people feel like they're stuck where they're at because they don't have a ride. Now, Care Lodge can't necessarily come pick somebody up from their home, depending on the situation. Like if it's a domestic violence situation going on, we can't go to their home and get them out and bring them into Care Lodge. That would be a law enforcement issue for safety reasons. But afterwards, we do have transportation services to provide a ride back and forth from shelter to appointments to job interviews. to work, to medical appointments. So I'm just trying to think of normal everyday things that people worry about. We can help people figure out how to apply for jobs, how to be ready for interviews, job readiness skills, life skills. We've even been throwing around ideas about like how to change your tire and how to check your oil and just everyday life stuff that
Right.
we don't want you leaning on your abuser for nothing.
Right. There you go. That's it.
Nothing.
Show people how to be independent,
Yeah.
self-sufficient. That is great. Right. Well, I know that there's a conference coming up. It is on October the 23rd. So tell us about that in case we have some viewers who want to attend.
Oh, so excited and happy that you
Yes.
talked about that. Well, first of all, this week is our Breakaway 5K virtual race. Everything I'm talking about right now for Domestic Violence Awareness Month can be found at carelodge.com. Right in the top section of our homepage, you'll see little buttons that talk about the race or My Light Shines campaign for supporting domestic violence victims, and our 26th annual conference. I said 23rd because it's on the 23rd. But we have a really special guest speaker, y'all.
Me?
But other than that, I mean, it's virtually nothing to attend, and we have special rates for people who work at schools and school faculty and staff, law enforcement and military. And if it's an issue, y'all, if you really need to come to this conference and you need help, please just call us and tell us your situation so we can work with you, because we want bodies present at this conference, because we're talking about the cases here that fall between the cracks. The cases where, what about a displaced family that's dealing with domestic violence and they're living out of their car, but their kids still need to go to school? We're going to be talking about that. What about the people who have domestic violence in the home and the system's not taking care of them, like what we were just talking about? We're going to talk about that. So we have people from universities that are speaking, some local social work professionals, and then we have somebody who's spoken all over the world who is a survivor of domestic violence, and he has worked with as a police officer for years and trained hundreds and hundreds of people, professional everywhere, about domestic violence, having empathy, what it looks like, how to not create a system fail, and how to look out for those lethal indicators in a relationship. So you know beyond a shadow of a doubt that this situation can go deadly quick. And I'm so excited about it.
It's going to be good. Yes.
Yes.
But if you
So,
are a working professional, like a social worker, there's going to be 5 credits available, including ethics. So if you need to, get in those last minute CEs, those will be available if you attend this. 5 credits.
Oh, wow.
perfect.
That's awesome.
Must see, must attend event. And it is virtual. It's Friday, the October 23rd from 8 to 4. And if you need more information on that, please call the Care Lodge, go on the email. You can register that way.
Yes. And Erica Glover is speaking. And she's going to be talking some really awesome things, y'all. If you've been following this live in sync and you've been hearing her talk about anything that has to do about her life and her faith and her walk, she's going to share some real deep, great stuff. And I applaud your courage for that, because I know that's some sweaty, intense stuff to get up there in front of people and pour your heart out and some vulnerable things about the things that you've dealt with, and how you've overcome that and how you have become a thriver. I don't think we hear enough cases where people have gone through something and they come out on the other side and they're doing a good job at life. Yes, we struggle sometimes, and sometimes it gets real deep and hard and heavy, but you're making it and you're helping people every day, and you need to shine that light wherever you can.
Absolutely. And that's the whole point. We want to help other people come out of that bad situation
Yes.
and get into thriving into life. So absolutely. Yes, ma'am. We're going to snap to that.
Yes.
And as you can see, we have gone purple. Purple is representative of domestic violence awareness. So we want everybody to know that this matter is close to all of our hearts here on Life in Sync. Mary, Rhonda, and I, we've all experienced it in some form or another in our life, and we just want people to become more aware of it. If you see something, say something. We hear that
Yes.
slogan all the time, but if you know somebody who needs help, if you can't help them, we've got a resource. Call Care Lodge. Go on the website and reach out to somebody. If somebody needs help, point them to the right direction. We've got help. The number is going across the screen. 601-693-HOPE, the Care Lodge, crisis hotline. If you need help at 2 a.m., that's the number you call.
Mhm.
Yeah. And it's people,
Awesome.
Erica, just like us, that are going to be answering that phone and just walking you through those next steps. And there is never a pressure. We want the best for that person. We want them to be safe, but we don't judge. Matter of fact, speaking of judgment and non-judgment, we've had many, many people come by over and over again, repeated cases where they're so embarrassed because they'll recognize us as staff and they'll say, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm here again. I have horrible taste in partners and I just don't understand why I keep messing up and I don't know what's wrong with me." And we tell them, "Hold on, hon. There's more to that picture than something that's wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with you. There's a cycle that needs to be broken, and
Yes.
you need a little bit of help working it out. And let's talk about it some."
Mhm.
That's it.
Because
That's
you
it.
don't have to stay broken. You just have to become aware and walk in that new life and feel empowered and supported by people. And when you feel like you can do it and there's people that believe in you, changes are going
You
to
can
start
do
happening.
it. That's it. That's
That's
it. Well said, Sarah. We have enjoyed this talk. And if you are watching Life and Sync live, or if you are going to watch it on a replay, we just encourage you to share it with other people.
Yes.
Let other people know that there is help out there. Do not suffer alone. Do not go through anything alone. There is help. Please reach out and get it. People out there ready to help you. So Mary, we're just closing out. And if you have anything else to ask, contribute, put out there, now is the time.
Well, I wanted to ask if people wanted to make donations. I don't know if you covered it or
Yeah.
not. How would they donate, or what types of things would you need? Because a lot of people in the community don't know that they can give, and looking for ways to donate and give. So, what would you recommend, or how do you handle that?
I think that is a great question. You can give as little or as much as you want, and there's different ways. You can volunteer your time. That's a way to give. You can do a donation drive for toiletry items and paper products or clothing or school supplies, because that is a big way to give. CareLodge.com, how to help, and you click on give. There's several options. You can do a one-time gift. You can make reoccurring gifts monthly, or you can do, this is my favorite, it's called Round Up, and you can put your information in to where, say you got something for $1.01, that would probably never happen, but the 99 cents would be donated to Care Lodge.
Okay.
So like if you bought something for 99 cents, a penny would go to Care Lodge. And it's every time you do that. Let me tell you, I do that with my bank account. That could easily be $30 or $40 a month that you never even miss.
Yes.
You
Awesome.
don't even
And
know
you
it's
can,
from.
right. And you can set that up on the Care Lodge website.
Yes,
Oh.
carelodge.com, and then click on how to help.
Oh, wow. Great.
Awesome information.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. I think Mary's frozen.
Oh, yeah, she is frozen. As you can see scrolling on the bottom of the screen right now, it says Care Lodge. Like us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. like you guys just said, awareness is the number one thing. When you share something to your social media page from Care Lodge, you're bringing
Thank you for
awareness
coming
and
out and
giving
talk
help.
to us tonight.
Ah!
Am I frozen?
A little bit. She was finishing her thought, Mary.
It's okay.
Just
Just
Sarah.
like and share stuff that you see on or Care Lodge's Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter pages, because that's that awareness, the word of mouth that we share, that message of hope, those
Am I
connections
frozen?
that we make are the most important thing that you can do.
Okay, now Mary.
Go ahead, Mary. Go ahead, Mary.
Go ahead, Mary.
I'm on. Am I?
Yes.
Well, we just want to thank you for coming on to Life and Think tonight. Can y'all hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Close us out.
Yes. Yes.
Can y'all hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Well, thank you everybody for joining us for Life and Sync. We're so grateful to have such a great community resource like Care Lodge. If you feel like you're the victim of domestic violence or have questions, call Care Lodge, call the domestic violence hotline number. Don't lose hope. Get out if you can, and utilize those resources that are available. Bye bye.
Bye, guys.